We're live. When the production guy says we're live, I'm going live. So thanks for tuning in. Another episode of Elk Talk Live. I think this is the ninth. This is the ninth episode where we've been focusing on hunt elk every year, right? So we've already went through Wyoming, Arizona, Utah, Montana. Today is the deadline for New Mexico. I don't even know what time the deadline is for New Mexico. If it was 5 o'clock or if it's midnight. Don't leave though. Don't go look. So those ones are all behind us. So now in front of us, we've got Colorado, which is April 3rd. We've got Nevada, which is April 16th. We have Oregon, which is May 15th, and Idaho, that is June 1st. So we got a lot going on here. It's just the time of year that we call application season. So we're going to jump into a bunch of questions. We're getting so many questions that we're not able to answer them all. So what we're doing is we're saving a lot of them, and we're going to start doing some radio type podcasts in addition to this to try to get to some more of these questions. But anyhow, remember, if you want to be notified, if you want to be on the list, if you want to be entered into any of our big drawings that we're putting together, text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453. And last week I kind of made a joke about how many people were emailing me with text Randy to 77453, and that's not how it works. You got to text, okay, on your phone. That's how it works. But Elk Talk Live is brought to you by Bowtech, by Leupold, Onyx Maps, Tight Spot Quivers, Ripcord, Black Gold, GoHunt, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, and let's see, who am I forgetting? Well, today we're adding Nosler. All of you know that when you see us out elk hunting, all right, what's Randy shooting? For elk, he's shooting 1 of 3 bullets, right? It's usually a Partition in his 308. In a 300 Win Mag, it's one of 2 choices. Either an Accubond 180 grain or a 180 grain E-tip. Those are my 3 elk bullets, and they're all from Nosler. And yes, I shoot Nosler factory ammo. It's never let me down, and it probably never will. If I make a mistake, right? What did I say last week? If I make a mistake, it's not my equipment's fault. It's right here. But the other thing, every week, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls grabs somebody by random and sends them one of the Black Magic diaphragm calls. And then for those of you watching, if you sign up for the GoHunt Insider, which has all this drawing information we talk about, drawing odds, research, everything else, strategy articles, if you sign up and use promo code RANDY, R-A-N-D-Y, I mean, we make this really easy, right? Everything's Randy. They're going to give you $50 in free mad money in their gear shop. And then the folks at Onyx Maps, for everyone who uses promo code Randy, you're going to get 20% off their app products. So when you check out, just use promo code Randy, and who knows what you're going to get for that. Are we live, Marcus? It's not showing. Oh, here it is. Right there. Huh, what a country. It showed up right here. Todd says, remind me of your suggested books on elk and elk hunting. For me, I'm really big on, Jack Ward Thomas has one. I think it's called Elk and Elk Ecology, if I remember right. Anyhow, it's an elk book by Jack Ward Thomas. Super, super good. Let's see. Randy, have you thought about doing a raffle for a hunt with your proceeds going to conservation groups? We've talked about all kinds of things. The one we're talking about here is free. When you do it as a raffle, and technically if you do it over multiple states, you got to register with every state and pass their laws. So the one we're talking about putting together would be you getting to come to Colorado on an archery elk hunt with me in early September. I keep talking about it because there's 1 or 2 states that are hanging us up here on the legal requirements. But when it becomes possible, you're going to hear about it right here on Elk Talk Live. But doing an actual raffle for money is much more complicated. So Marcus, you look like you got a good question there that you're...
Yeah, someone wants to know what's the good and bad about Nevada applications for elk.
Oh, what's the good and bad about Nevada application for elk? The good is if you draw, you're going to have a really, really good hunt. The bad is the odds of drawing are really, really slim, even with a lot of points. So here's how the Nevada system works. I think on Monday was the first day they started taking applications, and it closes April 16th. So you got, a 3-week period there, something like that. And you have to buy a non-refundable hunting license if you want to build points. You can ask for a refund of the license, but you don't get any points. So without points, when I explain this, you'll see why having points is so critical in Nevada. They square your points. So if you have 10 and I've got 2, square my 2, well, that's 4. Plus I get 1 for my current year application. That means I got 5 random numbers. They have a bonus point system. So remember, random numbers aren't a guarantee. They're just like buying raffle tickets. If you've got 10, square that, that's 100, plus you get your current year application, you get 101 random numbers. So the odds of one of your random numbers being lower than mine, because you've got 101 and I've got 5, is way better. So that's why points mean so much in Nevada. Nevada limits non-residents to 10% of the tags, and it's choose your weapon. If you draw archery, you got to hunt archery. If you draw muzzleloader, you got to hunt muzzleloader. If you draw rifle, you got to hunt rifle. You can't, like in Montana, Idaho, Wyoming, I'm not sure if any other states, but I know some states you can just hunt with whatever weapon that the season is open for. So Nevada definitely has its challenges. The good part is if you draw, and I drew Nevada for elk in 2005, man, is it a fun hunt. It is so fun. They manage for really, really good age class, and there's tons and tons of public land. Just about all the elk in Nevada live on public land. So someone asked, why don't I do pronghorn talk? Because I don't know if there's any other pronghorn nuts like me, so it might be just me sitting in here talking to myself. Let's see. Oh, Kentucky too. If you just want to buy a $10 raffle ticket, Kentucky is available. I did my Kentucky application the other day. We probably need to get you in on that, Marcus.
Sounds good.
Marcus is like, sounds good to me. Let's see. How heavy is your backcountry pack for a 5 to 7 day hunt in late October, food and gear? Well, our gear includes camera gear. So if we were going in for 5 or 7 days, I'm guessing, Marcus, what would you say? We're at 60 pounds?
Yeah, I mean, it's really variable.
It depends on what we see for weather, all kinds of stuff. But it's going to be probably 60 pounds or so if we go in on a hunt for 5 to 7 days. And it also depends on how far we're going, how many in a group. If there's 2 or 3 of us, one's going to carry a stove, one's going to carry a water filter. We're not going to carry multiple stoves, multiple water filters. So I guess it depends, but I would say get ready for 60 pounds plus or minus 10. So yeah, it's not something you just say, oh yeah, this will be a breeze. Let's see. Rita says, hey, we finally drew an elk tag this year. See, that's what you get for watching Elk Talk Live. We tell you how to draw these tags. Now you just got to go there, find an elk, and the rest of it's easy. Well, I say it's easy. Marcus is rolling his eyes like, really? If you got any really good ones, Marcus, interrupt me. So.
Well, someone asked if accuracy was equal and you could only have one, would you choose a Partition or an Accubond?
If the accuracy was equal and I could only choose one, would I choose the Accubond or would I choose the Partition? Whew, man. It would depend on what I was hunting. If I was hunting elk, man, they both work so good. That's not fair to put me on the spot like that. I would say if it was elk, I'd probably pick the Partition, and here's why. Not because it's necessarily better. I've been using Partitions for so long, and I think the Partition was built 70 years ago. So I'm kind of got this legacy old school thing going on with the Nosler Partition. So I I think that would be the answer. I'd probably pick a Partition. But let's see. Randy, have you ever hunted Washington State? No, I haven't. If so, any recommendations? No, because I haven't hunted it. Let's see. When will your New Mexico jail episode air? It won't. And we didn't film it. I was in jail. That was a long time ago. But we'll get to it someday. When am I going to do a Roosevelt elk hunt? Boy, I hope pretty soon. My son is in charge of researching that right now. He moved to Oregon, and I can see that it's definitely on my list of things I'm going to be doing sooner rather than later. Daniel asks, Randy, I know you're a fan of hunting in grizzly areas, but would you do it on your own? I'm planning a solo trip this fall. I used to do it a lot on my own. Now I really don't go on my own because I always got a camera guy. So it's hard, even though I might be the only hunter, if there's a camera guy right there, that's different than you going in all by yourself. So I used to do it. You just got to have your head on a swivel. You got to be smart and think about where you're at, where would a bear, where's the greater likelihood of a bear? Am I keeping a clean camp? All those sort of things. And odds are you're probably going to be just fine. And you're probably going to be in some of the better elk hunting ground. And you're going to have a lot less pressure. Let's see. Randy, when you get to Kentucky, let us know. That's close. I will do that, Tim. You get me the tag and I'll be there. I'll put that out to anyone who lives near Kentucky. You get me a Kentucky elk tag and I'll buy you all the Dairy Queen you want while I'm there. Let's see. Scott. Everyone's on a pronghorn kick tonight. Scott's trying to put up a smoke screen. Pronghorn don't even exist in Wyoming. Don't even bother. Yeah, right. There's more pronghorn than there are people in Wyoming. And then someone says, you may as well do a grouse talk also. Let's see. What's a good diaphragm call for a beginner? Like I was saying last week, I'm going to grab this. Okay, right here, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. You see that? Is that showing up, Marcus? Okay. This is one of their tubes, right? Well, I need to grab, it's out in my car. I actually brought them today because I wanted to show you, but then I left them out in my car. I used their diaphragm call, and it's a line of calls made by Christy Titus, or at least licensed under Christy's name. And the roof of your mouth, it could be like this, it could be like that, or it could be really flat. Mine's really flat. So if I use the wrong call, say one of those dome calls, it just wobbles on that big flat roof of my mouth, and I can't get a tight seal. Like Corey Jacobson, okay? He just won the world champion elk. What is it? The World Elk Calling Championship last weekend. Corey, he told me, he's like, yeah, I hardly have any room in my mouth. It's just this big, tall, steep roof. And he uses really specialized calls that fit his mouth. So we're like on opposite ends of the spectrum. To answer your question, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls makes all kinds of great diaphragm calls. I would go and try and experiment and see which one fits your mouth the best. And then I'd buy a bunch of them and go with that. So, somebody's giving you the hard ride here, Marcus.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, let's see. Someone says Wisconsin is going to start its first elk hunt this fall. Do I know anything about it? I don't. I know they're giving away 10 tags. But as far as where and how and, stuff like that, I don't know any of the details. Sorry. With 10 tags, as fanatic as hunters are in Wisconsin, something tells me the odds are going to be pretty low. So how much do I use my phone, my smartphone, versus a GPS? Well, I used to be a traditional GPS guy, but the folks over at OnX really got me dialed in to using this thing right here. It is as slick as anything. Oh, I should have shown it, but anyhow, there it is. It's just on my phone, hit location, turn on the GPS, say agree, and there you go. You're off and running. I think my GPS is going to get retired. And And I'll blame that on Marcus and Michael, the production guys. They kind of convinced me. They would see me over there squinting and complaining that I couldn't see aerial view and I couldn't do this, I couldn't do that on a regular GPS. And they're looking at aerial views, getting the full kind of look of what's over the next ridge. I'm like, all right, I got to do that. So now I used to be, I'd say 2 years ago, I was 80% GPS, 20% smartphone. Now I think I'm 80-20 the other way. And remember, again, if you do want to buy one of their apps, use promo code Randy and save 20%. Have I heard about the bison culling at the Grand Canyon? Yeah, I have. And Arizona Game and Fish feels that it's something that's got to be done. I think they're doing it in conjunction with the Park Service. I'm not going to second guess biologists who that's their daily life, so I don't. Randy, how large in terms of acreage does a burn need to be to really get your attention for elk feeding? 10 acres? Not a very big fire, right? 10 acres is, there will be herds, a herd of elk in a 10-acre burn. And a lot of our burns in the West, 10 acres, it's like, oh, that was just a lightning strike. It was, it must have been raining because it only burned 10 acres and it put it out right away. It's hard to find really small burns, but I'll hunt really, really small burns. It's amazing, especially if there aren't a lot of disruptions to the landscape in that basin. If there's one little one, say it's 50 acres or 100 acres, that's where they're going to be. Let's see, how far do you hunt from your camp? That depends. I'd say we're probably the furthest we go in, Marcus, 4 or 5 miles, something like that. Oh, if you hear a clicking thing, we got an uninterruptible power supply here that is hooked up to all of our stuff. And the battery every once in a while kicks on for a minute. So I apologize about the clicking noise. Oh, Eric just said the Wisconsin tags, there's 1 Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation tag, 6 state tags, and 4 tribal tags. Okay. I don't know that. I really haven't given it much thought. Okay, John says, of the 5 stages of the elk season that you always discuss, what is your favorite to hunt and does it change by state? So I always talk about the 5 seasons of elk hunting as early season, pre-rut, peak rut, post-rut, late season. If you told me that I get to hunt any season based on I just want to have fun, I'm going to go in the peak rut. Okay, I love it. They're bugling, they're carrying on. The weather's usually nicer. If I want to go and consistently fill my freezer, I'm going late season. Late season, the bulls are more predictable. They're in places that you know because they're in sanctuary mode. The weather's going to be in your favor. They're not going to be spread anywhere from 12,000 down to the bottom. They're going to be pushed down lower. There's all kinds of reasons why I think that the late season is a higher likelihood to fill your tag. It's not as fun, I'll admit right away, it's not as fun as having bulls bugling at you. The last season would be post-rut or early season. Those are the 2 toughest seasons because most of the early seasons are archery and they're not bugling. It's spot and stock, it's ambushing. That's a really tough season to hunt. Post-rut is a really tough season to hunt. And post-rut in late October, that's when most of the rifle seasons are going on in the West. So I hope that gives a little bit of idea why I'm a big fan of late season. Let's see.
Got one from the Nosler page.
Okay, Nosler page. What do we got?
So for elk, should I use a lighter, faster bullet or a heavier, slower bullet? Or should I just choose one that shoots best in my gun?
3 options. The person asked for elk, should I use a light and fast bullet, a slower and heavier bullet, or whatever shoots best in my gun? I would go with whatever shoots best in your rifle, with the heaviest bullet in that cartridge or caliber of the highest quality. And the highest quality, I talked about them earlier, I would make sure it's one of the 3, either an Accubond, a Partition, or an E-tip. Now, for elk, I use a 308 with 165 grain partitions. Sometimes when we have a guest hunter, the other rifle that we'll be using is a 300 Win Mag, and it has 180 grain either Accubonds or E-tips. So that gives you kind of the range of what I use for elk. I'm not a big fan of the super lightweight 110 grain going at 3,300 feet per second out of the barrel. I want something that when it hits that elk, it's got the penetration. And if you study kinetic energy, momentum, all the other things of physics, that kinetic energy doesn't necessarily translate into penetration. So that's one of the things I worry about with the really small, fast cartridges, the small diameter. I'm not saying they won't kill elk. Don't get me wrong. They will. But I want something that I'm going to be comfortable no matter the shot angle, if it's slightly quartering away, quartering to. There's just a lot of things that come into play where I tend to lean more towards the heavier bullet, even if, okay, let's say my 308 leaves the muzzle at 2,800 to 2,810, something like that, feet per second. That's smoking right along. Even when it's out there at 300 yards, it's still smoking right along, and I'm comfortable with that. Let's see. Is it not a good idea to keep switching grains of bullets through your gun? Is it better to stay with one grain and brand? Once you find what your rifle works, stick with it. I think we have a tendency to overthink this stuff. And this, just, again, one thing you find out on Elk Talk is you get a lot of Randy's opinions. I think that we have a tendency, and it's fun, don't get me wrong, I've got this load and this rifle and that rifle and this scope and that scope, and okay, in this 270 I shoot 130 grain Accubonds. In this one, 270, I shoot 150 grain Partitions. It's fun to do it that way. But for hunting situations, there's the old saying, beware of the person who owns one rifle and knows how to, because they probably know how to use it. That's kind of my way of approaching it. Stick with one or two rifles for what you need. Maybe you have one rifle that's for antelope and deer and another one that's for elk and other things. I wouldn't be hopping around. Once you find what your rifle likes, go with it. It's kind of like in archery. Would you change arrows? Would you change broadheads? Would you change a lot of other things in your archery gear? No. I got my bow tech. I'm set up. I got my sight. I got my rest. I got my quiver. I'm comfortable with those products. I've been using them forever. I'm not going to be changing them around. I say the same thing applies to rifles and firearms. Let's see. Someone wants to know if I'll do their North Carolina taxes next year. I don't think so. I'm the worst CPA you've ever met. My wife's looking for a better accountant. Rita says he was an accountant. Zach asks, would I prefer to hunt the northern or southern areas of New Mexico for elk? Yes. I'd prefer to hunt anywhere in New Mexico. You give me an elk tag. I don't care if it's up north. I don't care if it's down south. The places I've hunted further south, the Gila, around Ruidoso and places like that, they get managed for a little better quality than northern places get managed for more opportunity. So if you gave me all possible choices, yeah, I'd probably pick the southern side, but it doesn't really matter to me. You give me a New Mexico elk tag, I got a big smile. So what are your favorite features of your Mystery Ranch packs? Boy, how much time do we have? I love how durable they are, how versatile they are, how much they can carry without it transfers the weight. And that's a big part about a high quality pack. You want the weight transferred to your hips. You don't want to have that thing pulling you back. I've been using Mystery Ranch packs since, I don't know, I think 2006 or 7, way before I started this TV show thing. And there's a reason I don't change. Let's see. Do I have a different CDS dial depending on how high, at what elevation I'll be hunting? I don't. We covered this before. CDS dials, Leupold on their scopes makes a dial system called, the CDS stands for Custom Dial System. You give them your load information, what you think your average elevation, what your average air temperature will be. You give them the load data, ballistic coefficients, all that. They etch a dial, a dial that you spin based on, all right, it's 320 yards, spin it to 320 and you're off and going. But you have to tell them, okay, I think I'm going to be hunting at 7,000 feet. Well, know what I call them dope charts. I look at them. I know, all right, if my dial is set for 7,000, but I'm hunting at 9, I know what that load difference is going to be. It's usually pretty marginal. So I don't really worry about getting different dials. It's at least for normal hunting distances. You know, some guys they're way better shots than I am, and they're comfortable shooting way out there. I don't. Is someone's asking marriage advice here. Jim, like 3 episodes ago, we gave Jim such a hard time about getting married in September. I'm surprised anyone brings up marriage stuff here. So Scott's saying, in Randy's opinion, should I take my wife with me hunting antelope on our anniversary in early October or skip the hunt? Take her with. Get her a tag. What's the deal? I mean, you can't just go and say, I'm getting a tag and you're coming with. You got to give her a tag. You can do party apps in Wyoming. Man, you might not have another anniversary if you go about it that way. Got married in October. That was the problem. I better shut up or my wife is watching this. I'll be in trouble. Tony's asking, how are the llamas doing? Oh, they're doing great. Michael, our other production guy, was down there working and filming some stuff with them just today, I think. And we got a whole troop of them. We're going into some really cool places this fall with those llamas. We're going to have some really, really good footage, I think. Even if I'm in the footage, well, that always brings the quality down a little bit, but it'll be a ton of fun. And the places we're going to go, I think, will make for cool stories. Let's see. At what temp do I worry about meat hanging in game bags and in the shade? It has to be pretty warm. I've left it on a north-facing slope, hanging in the shade, in the mountains with the wind blowing on it for a couple days when the daily highs are getting up into 70. So there's a lot of factors that come into play of that, but I don't worry about it that much. I know how to take care of it. And here's another thing. If you do find a creek, if you've ever studied evaporation, if you can build like a little pole system above a creek, the evaporation coming off a creek often will change the air temperature 5 to 10 degrees. So if you're really worried about it, but you can find a creek or a water source, build some sort of lean-to, some sort of item where you can hang the meat directly above the creek and take advantage of that evaporation that's happening. You got another one, Marcus?
Someone asked, have you ever drawn your bow while an elk is staring at you and not had it spook?
Have I ever drawn my bow while an elk is staring at me and not had it spook? I don't know. They usually spook when you do that. That's why you want to be careful in your setup and have them come, whatever way and already be drawn so that when they get to a point where they have their peripheral field of view that's no longer obscured by tree or brush, you're already at full draw. I think every time I've done it, I've scared them off. If someone else has a better idea, let me know. But I think I've scared them off. Michael asks if I've ever hunted the Gunnison Basin in Colorado. No, I've not. Not for elk. But talking about elk in Colorado, right? The deadline is April 3rd. And we're talking about Colorado right now. There are limited entry draws. And Colorado has a preference point system. So with the preference point system, he or she with the most points gets the tag. Well, Colorado, once we get through all these draws and you say you didn't draw, our what I call backup plan Colorado is probably the critical part of that backup plan, because for archery and for second rifle and third rifle, most, not all, but most of the western half of the state, you can go buy the tag online or at over the counter. They call it OTC, over the counter. So Colorado is a huge part of the strategy of getting to hunt elk every year. And you've seen me do it. I'm trying to remember how many times we've filmed over the counter hunts in Colorado. I think we've done 4 of them in our 10 years of filming. So let's see. Joe asks, can you buy a license for Arizona still and then buy an over-the-counter on site? If you're talking about archery deer, yeah, you can buy the over-the-counter deer tag, archery deer tag, but not for elk. There are no over-the-counter elk hunts in Arizona. Randy, do you put in for Area 2 in Colorado? No, I'll never have enough points to draw. It's way up in the northwest corner. And the non-residents who are drawing that tag I have like 24, 25, 26 points. And in 2016, I burned 19 points to hunt a different unit. So I'll probably never be there. So you got anything more, Marcus? I'm just scanning through them here. There's a ton of them.
Someone's going to go on their first Alaskan bear hunt after seeing your bear hunts. Any tips?
Oh, someone's going on their first Alaskan black bear hunt after watching our Alaskan bear hunt. Any tips? Yeah. I'm assuming you're going self-guided. Understand how the tides affect everything. Be prepared for bad weather. Be prepared for logistics that are complicated. Don't expect anything to get there. And I say that we've shown up and not had our gear get there before. Whatever you can, check it as luggage. Don't ship it up in advance, anything like that. Have some way that you're going to be able to take care of the meat, and some way that you're going to be able to take care of the hide. Depends on where you're hunting, and some of the islands you actually have to get, they call it sealed. You got to take the head and the pelt to Game and Fish, and they measure it, they age it, they do everything, and then they put this like metal locking tag and this rubber tag in the pelt and in the skull. So read the regulations really carefully in Alaska. There's a TV person who got in trouble in Alaska because he arrowed a bear and then he didn't recover it and he went hunting again. Well, in Alaska, if you hit an animal, you're done. Forget it. Yeah, that's it. You can't go chase another one. And I say that to say read the regulations, because every state has some quirky things, and Alaska's bear regulations have some quirky things. Oh, let's see. What is your bow setup? Boy, we've covered that a lot of times, but I'll quickly say it again. I have a Realm X, and it's set at 62 pounds. Draw length is 29 inches. I shoot 125 grain broadhead that is always a fixed blade. My rest is ripcord. My sight, I have a black gold Ascent. It's a 5-pin. I take 1 pin off. I only have 4, 20, 30, 40, 50. And I have a tight spot quiver. My release is a Carter Quickie. That's about as detailed as I can get with it. Let's see. Oh, wow. A lot of bear questions now all of a sudden. Do you have any tips for hunting elk in the scrub oaks? Yeah, be prepared to get frustrated. In the scrub oaks, in Colorado especially, it's just, you would swear there's no way there can be an elk over there. And then just before the sun goes down, all of a sudden, they're like jack-in-the-boxes popping up over there just across the canyon. Glass and glass and glass and glass. That's what I would say. Don't get impatient. Don't think, well, I'm going to walk through there. That scrub oak is you're almost going to lose your clothing walking through there. And they can hear you from a mile away because it's rubbing against you. You're breaking limbs. In the scrub oak, they use that as a sanctuary place. Hunt someplace where you can look into it, be there before the sun comes up, and watch. Okay, wow, they're moving in there. Maybe you'll get a shot then. If you don't, because, that was 600 yards over there, reposition yourself and know that just before dark, they're going to get up to start feeding again, and be there, be closer, and make that your strategy of how you're going to get that bull that's likes to hang out in the scrub oak. It's like hunting nothing else. Let's put it that way. All right. Any spot and stock mule deer tips? No, for me it's spot and spook. I'm not very good at it. I love doing it, but I'm not very good at it. Let's see. Someone asked about Amazon Prime. Yeah, Amazon Prime. Season 6 is now. We got the first episode up there. Going to have the second episode there pretty soon. Marcus is going to be showing everyone how to shoot elk in Wyoming. We've got 4 of them that we're just waiting for Amazon to approve them. So if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, go there and search Randy Newberg Hunter, and it'll pop up. Or search Fresh Tracks. Leopold's Fresh Tracks is probably even a better search. And it'll come up, and you'll be watching all the Amazon videos of Randy you ever want. Let's see. Put in for New Mexico for the first time this year, thanks to you. Hey, Jeremy, I hope you draw your tag. I hope you don't draw mine. I hope you draw yours. I love New Mexico. The beauty of New Mexico, like we said, when we focused a lot on New Mexico the last month, there's no point system. And if you apply, you can check the box, I want my license refunded. So really all you're out in New Mexico is the application fee and the fact that you got to front the money for a while. The other states, Colorado used to be that you had to front all the money. Now you don't. I did it the other day. You go online, you got to buy the applicable conservation stamps and other stuff and pay an application fee, and you're in. How easy is that? And then they charge you, if you aren't successful, they charge you for a preference point when it's all done. The other states that are open, Nevada, you got to buy a non-refundable license, plus you got to pay the application fees for each species. Oregon, you got to buy a non-refundable non-resident license. Idaho, you got to buy a non-refundable non-resident license. So there's some states where it's a little easier on the budget, some that aren't. And the draw demand for tags pretty much reflects which states are easier and which aren't. Let's see. Someone asked me about Colorado elk here. How do you purchase a preference point for Colorado elk? Go to the Colorado Parks and Wildlife website, hit the button that I think it says apply or buy, something like that. Anyhow, you'll see it on there. There's a big button that says apply here. So go in there, sign up, pay the fee, and there's a code. I think it's E99999P, something like that. The P stands for preference point. So that's all you got to do, and give them your credit card information, and they'll take care of it. Ethan asks, do you ever hunt outside of the western United States? Would you consider Canada great hunting in the Alberta Rockies? I don't, because we do all self-guided hunting, right? And in Canada, most of those places you have to hire a guide if you're a non-resident. Not all, but in Alberta, I have some friends up there who have offered to sponsor me. They call it sponsor. So an Alberta resident can sponsor a non-resident, and you can go up there and not have a guide. I'm really tempted to do it, but that I wouldn't film it, because that doesn't, how many of you would be able to do that? We always want to say, if we can do it, you can do it. Well, unless you have some friends up in Alberta, you wouldn't be able to do what we show. So if I ever do it, I'm probably not going to film it, just because it wouldn't be applicable to the audience. So let's see. What do you got going, Marcus? They're going past here so fast I can't read them all. Tell the story of your first hunt. I don't want to. My first elk hunt was so screwed up. I was the worst elk hunter in the world. I'm still not that good, but I made so many mistakes when I started elk hunting. It's embarrassing. Some of the things I thought were shortcuts and stupid ideas I thought would work. I think someday I need to write an article about the stupid things not to do to kill an elk, because I've probably done all the stupid things out there, but every year I seem to invent another dumb way to mess it up. Randy, do your own taxidermy mounts? No, I don't. We'll do some European mounts out on our YouTube channel, and you see some videos about doing Euro mounts. I don't do my own taxidermy. Let's see. What states have over-the-counter elk for non-residents? You're mostly going to look at Colorado. Idaho has leftover non-resident elk tags every year, so in effect they are over-the-counter. Montana has a system where if there are leftovers, they let non-residents buy them usually in early May. And then as tags get returned in Montana, because you can return it for I think an 80% refund or something like that. When those tags get returned, they become leftover as over-the-counter for non-residents. So those are really the 3 states where we're talking about over-the-counter hunting. Someone's instantly going to say, oh, you forgot about Utah. Yep, I did. And Utah has over-the-counter hunts. Most of them, not all, but a lot of them are spike hunts. It's pretty crowded. You're going to have to buy a license and a tag. And Utah is more known for its limited entry elk hunting, not its over-the-counter elk hunting. So it is an option, though, if you want to look into it in Utah. Oh, what's your favorite unit in Colorado if you have less than 20 points? That's a hard one. If you have less than 20 points, I'd just find whatever unit you can get the tag in, burn them, and go hunting. I've been in unit 61. I've hunted next to unit 10. That's going to take more than 20 points. I've hunted next to unit 20. Sometimes that's going to take, you'd get that with pretty much every season there for less than 20. I've hunted near some of the good units, or supposed good units. It depends on what you're looking for. Colorado has so much variety, from foothills to pinyon juniper, scrub oak, to aspens, to alpine, to whatever. It really depends on what you're looking for I would answer. I guess what I'm saying is I don't want to answer that question because I'm going to have a different vision of what's a good hunt than what you probably have. So let's see. How many years did it take you to hunt elk before you harvested your first? 6 years. Yeah, that's how bad I was. I tried every screwed up idea in the world. And then the summer before I shot my first elk, I went and read a book. I said, how can I make this work? Because I'm really good at fishing. I can catch walleyes in a sewer pond, it seemed like. What am I doing with walleyes that I'm not doing with elk? And this is weird, where people are like, well, what does fishing have to do with hunting? Well, I realized that I was able to catch walleyes consistently in just about any lake or reservoir because I knew what they were doing at that time of year. I knew what their need was at the time I was fishing for them, and their need determined how deep or what they were relating to, structure or bottom or whatever. So I took that same idea, and that's how I came up with my 5 periods of elk hunting. And I say there's 4 basic needs of elk, 3 permanent, 1 temporary: water, food, sanctuary or security, and breeding. So I say in my 5 periods, what's the priority need they have? Well, if it's sanctuary and security, I better go to the places that bull elk head when the hunting pressure comes on. If it's food or water, I better go to where the best food or the best water is. And those needs change in each of the 3 seasons, or 5 seasons. The needs that you're going to see elk have in the early season are almost reverse from what their needs are in the late season. So you got to identify what's the primary need and where are they going to go to satisfy that need. And once I did that, opening morning of the next year, I shot my first bull elk. And then I think I've shot an elk pretty much every year since then. I think so. I know, it just, part of it was trial and error. Some of it's luck. It's always hard work, though. I've never had an elk come easy. It just doesn't. All right. Randy, do you recommend elk decoys in bow season? I don't use them. I know guys who do, who swear by them, but I don't. All right. What do you got, Marcus?
I'm just switching pages.
Someone's asking, do I call in the post-rut phase? Not very much. Maybe at the early part of the post-rut, but once we're into late October, no, I'm not calling. So Marcus is monitoring like 5 different pages over there. So
I think this person's kind of asking the wrong question, but is there a unit in southwest Montana to build points in for elk?
is there a unit in southwest Montana to build points for elk? There's not, because in every state, you don't build points by unit, you build points by species. So in southwest Montana, we got all kinds of units. You build points in Montana for elk. So if you've been applying for some unit over here for 10 years and now you have 10 points, you can go use those 10 points on some unit on the other side of the state. So there really is no unit where it's building points. Let's see. Boy, there's a lot of people having their own conversation going on here. All right. Say you have maximum points for sheep in Arizona. What unit do you put in for? What is it? 22, I believe. Just slightly north of, almost straight north of Scottsdale is where I'm putting in. If I had max points, that's where I would go. But I don't have max points. I only have, I think this year I'll have 20 points in Arizona. So that's not even close to maximum. Okay. Eric asks, do you, I already answered. I thought it was worded differently. Sorry about that. Have I read the Elk Hunter book by Don Laba? Yes, I have. I think I've read every elk hunting book that's out there. And I still haven't found any of them that break it down as simple as I need it broken down. How thick is the brush in Colorado? Hope the brush in Colorado is so thick you don't want to go in there. It's like thick, thick, thick. Ask Marcus. Marcus and I shot a bull in there. If you go out to our YouTube channel, there's a video called "Don't Shoot Elk Here." It was him and I packing elk out of a terrible, terrible place. Don't do that. Don't be dumb. Don't be Randy. But we want to make sure again that everybody knows that if you want to get notified of this, and when we start, if we can get this elk hunt drawing put together, you're going to want to be on our list. And to get on our list, you text Randy, R-A-N-D-Y, to 77453. And we want to thank, the reason we can do this for free, it doesn't cost anyone anything. It's because of the companies that are paying for all the platform, promoting it, doing everything. That's Bowtech, Leupold, Onyx Maps, Tight Spot Quivers, Ripcord Arrow Rest, Black Gold Sights, GoHunt.com, Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls, and Nosler Ammunition. And I don't think I missed anybody. And if you do us a favor, if you go out to Amazon, if you're an Amazon Prime subscriber, we're trying to see if when we do announcements of, hey, you can watch us on Amazon for free if you're a Prime subscriber, how many people do that? Do we see spikes when we're promoting it? So if you do that, it'd be great. And we'll see tomorrow when we get our view report if anybody listened to us or if they all said, no, not doing it, Randy. And you can catch our podcast, Hunt Talk Radio, Leupold's Hunt Talk Radio, or Randy Newberg Unfiltered, however you want to call it. We haven't went unfiltered for a long time, Marcus. We've kind of been staying away from politics and stuff. That's why we haven't had to go unfiltered. So you can catch us there. We usually do it's about a 2-hour long podcast when we do it. We try to have interesting guests, and we appreciate if you watch that. So, a lot of people on here talking about reloading. We did a reloading series with Nosler last summer. Dakota out there, man, that guy's got it dialed in. I need to get back out there and go from reloading 101 to reloading 102. And he's the guy I'd want to have teaching me. So Justin asks, Randy, in your opinion, I'm glad that you said my opinion because this will be my opinion. Has the point system gotten out of hand in the western states? Yeah. I'm not a big fan of these elaborate point schemes that the western states have. And this always offends some people, so I can say it because, right, I got all this gray hair. Point schemes are usually put in place by us old gray-haired folks like me, and it usually tilts the table towards the person who's been doing it for a long time, right? And those are people who just due to age have been in the system the longest time. And if you tilt the table in someone's favor, you tilt it against someone else's favor. And that's usually against the favor of new hunters. And that's why I don't like them. I mean, I've got 20 points almost for multiple species in multiple states. I got max points in Montana for bighorn sheep. I would get rid of all these point systems and go back to 0 if I was king for a day. That, you know what? It's like New Mexico and it's like Idaho. Every year, we all have the same chance. What's more fair than everybody having the same chance every year? That's how I do it. So, you asked my opinion. That was all opinion right there. You got any opinion you want to add to that, Marcus, or you just gonna lay low?
That was good.
Oh, Marcus says that was pretty good, but he's sitting on a lot of points in Montana for moose, goat, and sheep also.
Yeah.
But so, you got anything more on one of those pages?
Yeah, someone was wondering what the skill changes would be required to move from rifle to bow hunting.
Skill changes needed to go from rifle to bow hunting. You're going to have to pay way more attention to smell. You are getting in that really critical zone to archery hunt. I mean, you're getting close. You're going to be 40 yards, maybe less. And you cannot underestimate how well an elk can smell. Yeah, they can hear really good, but if you sit in the woods, you realize it's kind of noisy out there. So they're a lot less concerned about noise than they are smell. They'll give you a break if they hear a twig crack or something, but if they get even the slightest smell, gone. So skill set to me is being able to read the wind. If there's one thing I know of archers who are consistently good at killing elk, and I am not going to admit to being one of those, I try hard, is they are meticulous about the wind. They don't take any chance. They risk nothing to the wind. And hanging around with some of those guys who are really good at it, it's impressed the heck out of me of, wow, these guys really get serious about managing the wind. So, hey, Daryl says, I agree about the point systems. Daryl for president. But Ted says he loves priority point systems. Okay. Eric says, oh man, I don't know that I've ever got that many comments on an opinion that I've stated before. Well, my wife has a lot of comments on my opinions, but let's see. David asks, as a non-resident, can I get a cow tag in Colorado second season? And can I also buy an over-the-counter bull tag? Yes, you can, if it's the right unit. So Colorado has cow tags and bull tags, and they put them in a category of A, B, or C. And in the front of their regulations, they say you can have multiple combinations of a tag that falls into A category or B category or C category. They tell you when you can have multiple tags, like a cow and a bull tag. You can never have multiple bull tags. So go read the Colorado regulations. It's too complicated to explain here, but I've had years when I've had both a bull and a cow tag in my pocket in Colorado. Let's see. Someone wants to know when my wife's going to comment. Nope, she's not. Eric asks, how do you control scent on pack-in hunts? I don't. I just play the wind. We get asked that question a lot. And again, this is opinion. I think all these spray down things and this, washing that and blah, 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 I think it's a waste. Save your money to buy tags, save your money for gas in your truck, save your money for arrows and ammo, and go hunt. Don't blow your money on that other stuff. Because if you are out elk hunting, you are going to be moving around. You're going to be sweating. There is none of that stuff that can keep your odor eliminated. And it's probably one of the best marketing gigs I've ever seen. I wish I would have thought up and dreamed it up, but I didn't. So, let's see. Are there any bad units for elk in Idaho? I wouldn't be able to answer that because Marcus is going hunting elk in Idaho this year if I have anything to say about it. He's going to be our Idaho representative, but if you talk to some people, yeah, it's tough hunting in north central Idaho just because of you have multiple things going on at the same time. You had wolves that were reintroduced. You had habitat that's reached its post-climax phase where the productivity of the habitat isn't that great anymore for elk. So you mix those things together, you get some bad winters. And if you talk to the Idaho guys, there's some places that are really tough elk hunting right now. So how do you find and purchase leftover tags? I'm interested in a Wyoming general elk tag in particular. Rob, Wyoming doesn't have any leftover general elk tags. If you want a leftover tag in Wyoming, it's going to be a cow tag. In Colorado, it can be a bull tag. That's a possibility. Most of the states, if you want a leftover tag, it's going to be a cow tag. And really the states where you get a chance at leftovers for cow tags might be Montana, usually not. Idaho, Wyoming has leftover cow tags, and Colorado has over-the-counter tags. That's pretty much your only options. Let's see. What size binocular do you use if you don't bring your spotting scope? I have 10 by 42s. I got to be careful because Leupold sends me prototypes to use, and I'm just going to tell you, the BX4, the Pro Guide HD, in a 10 by 42, you'll love it. And I'm trying not to smile because I got a really nice pair of prototypes that I'm hoping they're going to announce to the world. Come on, folks, get with it. People see me using those and are like, what is that? I'm like, I can't say anything. You'll really like them, though, I'll tell you that. Thoughts on Arizona's non-permit archery mule deer hunts? Matt asks that. I think they are the best thing going. It's crazy because you can hunt mule deer in most units on that non-permit deer tag. It's over the counter, right? So I've already bought my license to apply for elk and deer and antelope and bighorn sheep in the limited draws. So I already got the license. I go down there when the weather's warm in January. Some of the mule deer ones are even in December. And there's all this public land. I don't have to draw. I just go buy it at the sporting goods store. I think it's great. I wish it was possible for more states to do it that way. Let's see. Best time to start scouting for elk. About 4 days before your hunt. And some people I'm sure are saying, what do you mean? When you're scouting for elk, think about this. If you say, all right, I've got an October hunt, but it's August, I'm going to go look for elk. Those elk in August are going to be somewhere completely different in October. You're wasting your time scouting in August, other than, okay, I know how the landscape looks, I know how the roads are, what trails are open to motorized travel or not, or maybe where a campsite is. But I tell people you're way better off, if you can, to go 3 or 4 days before your hunt and do your scouting then. Because what you find the elk doing 3 or 4 days before your hunt is way more relevant. It's very relevant to what's going to be happening during your hunt. Whereas if you go there 2 months early, you're really not going to get much value other than knowing the lay of the landscape. That's about all you're going to get for value going that far in advance. Oh, how are we doing on batteries there, Marcus? It's not beeping on us. No? Well, we got a ton of them. Someone wants me to go archery elk hunting with them in Wyoming. I don't have a tag in Wyoming this year. I wish I did. So Brett asks, how does a guy get involved in some of the special draw tags out of his own state? You got to go to their websites. That's why I use the GoHunt Insider program. It has every Western state. It tells you it gives you all the links. If you want to apply for a tag in this state, click here. And it walks you through it. It has these strategy articles. It has unbelievable information. For me, just the strategy articles they write is worth every bit of what the annual fee is. And if you do it and you use promo code Randy, you're going to get $50 of free credit in their gear shop. So I can't go through it all here. That's the best source. GoHunt.com and click on their insider program. Holy cow. Some of you guys got some. Randy, you and the Pied Piper of elk hunting going hunting together this year. Tony Shoemaker asked that. Tony, if Corey would ever call me back, he's been out wolf hunting, and so I don't know if I'm going to hear from him again, but every state's deadline is passing, and Corey's too busy to apply with me, so he's the Pied Piper. He's always got a standing offer to come with me, but I don't know if he's going to. Let's see. Someone says, Randy, have you followed up on the issue of CWD being transmitted or transferred to humans yet? Yeah, I have. I've went and read it. And again, I'm not smart enough to know. I've asked some people who are smart enough to know. And it's the old, in science, there's always it's possible, but it's very improbable. That's where it falls right now from the big brain people that I've asked for their input on it. So, holy cow. Favorite cow call? And then do you use a diaphragm call or an open reed call? I use a diaphragm call. I use the ones from Rocky Mountain Hunting Calls. This is always funny. Someone always says, not asking for a honey hole or anything. That's always the way people preface these questions. I don't want your honey hole. But when you hunt in Montana, are you applying for a unit with special draw tags or just using the regular general tag that's good for most of the state? You're right. You're not asking for my honey hole. I usually apply, because in order to apply for a limited entry tag, you first have to have your general elk tag, right? So I know I have my general elk tag, so I may as well apply for one of the limited entry hunts. And that's what I do. The ones I apply for my limited entry hunts are usually in eastern Montana or in central Montana. There's some really good elk hunting to be had there. Am I avoiding units where CWD has been detected? No, I'm not really. Have we hunted any units where we know CWD was endemic? In Wyoming with Pat, that was a CWD unit. So, no, I'm not avoiding it, but I'm thinking that I'm probably going to have to start thinking more about it, and I'm going to get my animals checked for sure. All right, you got anything really, really good, Marcus, that we can end it with? Or do I go with what I got here?
You got a good one real quick.
This is a grouse one. When shooting grouse with your bow, where do you aim? I try to aim right for the head, but I usually miss. So I usually try to get behind them, and I aim right in the middle of the back. And it usually, if I do what I need it to do, it does exactly the right thing, and it's the end of the gig for the grouse. So come on, we got to have one better one than that. That was a grouse question. We got to get to an elk question. Let's see. All right. Gosh. Everyone's asking Dairy Queen questions. They must have all seen my Instagram post. Yesterday was Free Cone Day at Dairy Queen. And then someone says, reminder, New Mexico closed today. So it must have closed at 5 o'clock today. Well, I think what we're going to do, folks, we're going to probably shut it down. But remember, next Wednesday, we're going to be here. And if you have specific Colorado questions next week, that'd be great, because we're getting closer to that Colorado deadline. And I want to make sure everybody who's interested in hunting Colorado, that we do our best to cover the questions that are applicable. And then after that, we'll look at Nevada harder, and then Oregon, and then Idaho. So anyhow, thanks for watching. Have a good evening.